Assalamu alaikum. This is the first lecture of the lecture series on social problems of Pakistan. In order to understand social problems of Pakistan, we first need to understand the social problem in itself. We can distinguish social problem from other problems by distinguishing it from the individual problems. When an individual faces hardships, that is an individual problem. But when millions of individuals face the same hardship, that becomes a social problem. For example, if one person cannot find a job, it is a personal trouble, it is a personal problem, it is a personal issue. But if millions of people in a country cannot find work, it becomes a public issue. In other words, it becomes a social problem. Now, classical definition of social problem in sociology and social work is that a social problem is defined as an objective social condition that a segment of the society considers harmful or undesirable and that requires collective action to remedy. Or according to Horton and Leslie, a condition affecting a significant number of people in ways considered undesirable and about which it is felt that something can be done through collective action, social action. Such a condition is a social problem. Now, there are at least four conditions must be met for any condition to become a social problem, or for a situation to be classified as a social problem. It generally must meet the four criteria. The first, the issue must be social in origin. The problem is caused by a systematic flaws, cultural practices, or structural issues within a society rather than biological or natural physical factors. That is the first criteria. The second criteria is that widespread harm. It negatively affects a significant number of people or threatens the well-being of society as a whole. It's not just that it is affecting 1 or 2 persons or 3 persons or 4 persons. Rather, large number of people must be affected. The harm must be widespread for a condition to be classified as a social problem. The third one is collective awareness. A substantial segment of society or influential groups, they recognize the condition as a threat to their shared values. Sometimes not all the people know that the situation is bad, but experts or very few people know that the situation is bad, and they create awareness amongst the masses. And those few people are usually very influential people. The influential people, they could be they could be academics, they could be like uh, politicians, they could be business persons, they could be anyone with power and wealth and authority. The fourth condition is that remediability, that the situation is remediable, that there is a belief that a condition can be changed or alleviated through collective action or collective human action through a policy, through a social intervention. So four conditions are essential for a social problem. That is, the issue is social in origin, it is causing widespread harm, collective awareness is there, and it can be remedied through collective actions. Or we can also put it in these three ways, that by social problem we mean any undesirable social situation which is threatening the smooth functioning of collective life. Two, most of the people realize the situation is bad, but they are themselves involved in it. And three, collective efforts are needed to remove the situation, to alleviate or prevent the situation. Now think of the issues like child labor or any other issue in Pakistan. What do you think? That is a question for you to ponder. Is it a problem because it harms individual children, or because it disrupts the socio-economic development of the entire nation? Now, yes, it is an individual problem because it harms the individual children. It's a problem. Child labor is a problem. It harms the individual child, but it also disrupts the socio-economic development of the entire nation. When the children who should be there involved in, like for example, they should be involved in getting education and they are involved in labor. So when they become adult, they would be involved in the same labor. There would be no highly skilled, highly qualified labor force required or available for developmental tasks. So of course, child labor is a structural problem. It's an individual problem as well. It's both. Now, related concepts of social problem are like social disorganization, social pathology, social deviance, and social change. Social disorganization is a state where a society's existing social institutions, that is family, education, government, or any other institutions, they fail to function effectively leading to a breakdown in social control and shared norms. Social disorganization in itself is not a social problem, but social disorganization creates many social problems. Social pathology is an older concept that views social problems as a disease in social organisms. Like the concept is taken from biology. For example, viewing a crime or drug addiction as sickness infecting an otherwise healthy community. Social deviance, it is the behavior that violates the established cultural norms or laws of a society, for example, juvenile delinquency, corruption, while individual deviance is a behavior, widespread deviance points to a systematic social problem. Now, social change, sorry, social problems are frequently the byproducts of a rapid social change. For instance, rapid urbanization in Pakistan has outpaced infrastructure growth, directly leading to the formation of slums, that is Kachi Abadi, sanitation crises, urban poverty, water issues, and a lot of issues that have been produced because they are a byproduct of rapid social change. Now let's talk about the importance of the study of social change. Why social workers must study these social issues systematically? One, because they provide foundation for evidence-based practices. Social workers, they cannot design effective intervention without understanding the root causes of an issue. Studying social problems, it shifts your perspective from charity, that is giving temporary relief, to systematic change, that is fixing the root causes. Secondly, informed social policy. Research into social problems provide the data and arguments needed to advocate for legal and legislative reforms, that is passing strong laws against domestic violence or workplace harassment or these kind of things, because you have the data. So you study social problems and you research the social problem, so you bring the data and it helps you in passing strong legislations. Thirdly, in Pakistan, social problems are deeply intertwined with regional customs, religious interpretations, and socio-economic stratification. Studying these dynamics prevents social workers from applying one-size-fits-all solution that might fail in local context. So, developing cultural competence by studying social problems, you develop cultural competence as well. And lastly, resource allocation. Understanding which problems are most critical helps NGOs and helps the government agencies allocate scarce resources effectively. Now, to study social problems, the sociologists basically they apply at least three theoretical angles, three theoretical points. You will see in this slide that we have highlighted on the left structural functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. They have their own angle or perspective on core premises and how it views social problems, and the example from Pakistan. For example, structural functionalism, the core premises of the structural functionalism is that society is a complex system whose parts work together to promote solidarity and stability. While this conflict theory makes the argument that no, society is an arena of inequality that generates conflict and change driven by competition for scarce resources. While symbolic interactionism says that society is the product of everyday face-to-face interaction among individuals, they do not talk about what exactly, whether it is a consensus or whether it is a conflict. Now, how these perspectives view social problems. Structural functionalism views social problems as that problems arise when rapid change causes a part of society to become dysfunctional or disorganization. So, for structural functionalists, social problems they arise out of social change. Conflict perspective views that problems arise because a dominant group exploits or oppresses a subordinate group to maintain power and wealth. So, they do not talk about the change. They say the powerful people they dominate the powerless people and they exploit the powerless people, and to maintain their power they create these problems, or problems are created because of those people. Symbolic interactionism on the other hand says that conditions only become social problems when the society label them as social problems. Behavior is learned through social interaction, so for them social problem is a social problem because the society says so. if we look at some examples on illiteracy, the structural functionalism would say that the educational system is failing to train youth, disrupting the economic social stability of the country. On the same illiteracy, conflict theory would say that the powerful people, they do not want masses to be educated. And symbolic interactionism would say that illiteracy is illiteracy because society defines it so. Similarly, other problems are also defined differently, viewed differently by different social perspectives on social problems. Now, as a future social worker, your job will be to use these definitions, these concepts, and theoretical approaches to look past the surface of an issue, trace its structural roots, and design interventions that creates lasting social justice. Now, this is an introductory lecture for you. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. You can drop them in the box. I will try to respond to all the comments. Goodbye.